On the 54th year of our victory, the Bangladesh that I dream of, today's part is the third part on armed forces in politics. Is it a curse or a blessing? There may not be a better time than today to talk about the involvement of armed forces in one of the most challenging time of Bangladesh's political juncture. Like all other time, the armed forces will be deployed to ensure free polling in the country, which is expected to be free of all the major controversies. Sadly, the armed forces could not keep its reputation for last three elections under fascist Hasina in 2014, 2018, and 2024. So the armed forces, when they will be deployed for conducting the election, having the lowest possible public trust. This election is unique, mainly due to army Awami-fication. There is an apprehension amongst the high-ranking Awami-blessed officers who might obstruct fair polls. And this is an apprehension for all the political parties, lest one of the major political party. And they fear that after the polls, the incoming government will place a wrath on those officers who were blessed by the Awami government. But in my view, politically motivated high leadership in the army and other forces are quite minimum, but that may have not been ended completely. There are still persistent allegations that the armed forces are providing undue and concealed support to the leading political party. Such actions do not glorify the armed forces. Rather, they reveal a slavish attitude. This destroys the image and self-respect of the institution, making the military leadership cheap, shrewd, and profit-seeker. As a retired military officer, this fills me with profound disgust and compels us to lower our heads in shame, heads that we were trained and expected to keep high at all times and never to bow. The armed forces have already become a fractured community because of the unjust and disrespectful treatment meted out to our old comrades in last 15 years. Such disrespectful and undue servility toward a potential future power is crumbling. And it is crumbling us from within through disunity, unhealthy flattery, and unprofessional buttering up of politicians who have not yet assumed state authority. Only God knows what will happen once they take charge of the country. We once belonged to an army capable of self-correction, where our predecessors demonstrated the courage and integrity to correct their own course. Disunity amongst the entire military community has made all of us a traumatized, unhappy part of the society, although a few brave and courageous retirees showed guts which sparked the final blow to overthrow the last autocrat of Bangladesh. The Armed Forces Authority could have started with reconciliation right after the fall of Hasina regime. Now let me tell you how. Armed Forces should have listed the dismissed, prematurely retired officers under Hasina, compensate fully, analyze careers for retroactive promotions, gather confidential reports on culpable officers, and hold face-to-face reconciliation. What should have been the benefit? It could erase distrust and fault lines formed for last 15 years amongst all the officers, and that could yield a united force. The Army Chief Aziz Shafiuddin and Air Chief Hannan's corruption misdeeds are tried, then the prosecuted officers under Awami rule deserve a blanket rewards. This would end the serving general's panic and remove the guilty feeling of the officers who might have been involved in their time harming their fellow colleagues. Hasina-era officers who caused harm to their friends, superiors and juniors are still hiding within the service, and someday they will be identified and may be taken on task. As a retiree, I don't want serving officers humiliated as it dishonors families and children, a lifelong punishment which everyone is going to suffer for the rest of their life. I am also enjoying the politicians' recent behavior, particularly those who were vocal against Army's unconditional support to Hasina now overlooks the overzealous Army officers involved in different kinds of human rights abuse from DGFI, NSI and RAB. Some of them think ICT cases are staged for election sabotage and conspiracies. I wonder, BNP lost more than 2,000 leaders due to forced disappearance and murders, and their top and mid-level leaders had 300 to 500 cases per head. More than 5 lakh activists ruined their life. Yet, for the lust of the power, they are saying that victims seeking justice have wrongly filed cases, intentionally creating controversy against the top military authority. Now, how will these leaders face the grassroots leaders and the party men? They claim ICT trials are deep conspiracy to disrupt election. Those demanding justice of Hasina-era crimes due to enforced disappearance or murders are now saying ICT trials could destabilize the country, the risk that BNP cannot take. My suggestion to BNP is, I would request them to stay away from the trial. Injustice to the sufferers will fix your politics forever. Not wanting trials betrays thousands of grassroots sacrifices. BNP leaders' multifaceted conduct looks like really ugly. Those of you who are making top military a hero today will soon make them a villain. Now, post-election blaming the top military authority is inevitable, depending on the result you get. Army officers will always fulfill the state duties. They are proven historically, but trust upon the military for our past election performance have not been forgotten by people. NCP, a party which is always accusing the army of conspiring with BNP to win with the purpose of reviving Awami League. This is not just accusation. BNP leaders at all levels are brazenly saying this out and loud, and these days it is even disturbing to say BNP will ensure return of fascist Hasina in the near future if voted to power. Maybe they have forgotten how they were treated for long 15 years. This only shows how greedy our politicians are, and I feel the way they were treated for last 15 years is what they just deserved. I think what was heard in whisper may have been true for the BNP's top Awami-friendly leaders. It all looks clear how the top leaders enjoyed cat and mouse game at Dhaka when BNP's lakhs of people suffered Awami cases, homelessness and bankruptcy. I don't know how will they face the real sufferer and who will compensate their lost 16 years. These are not tradable by money, perk and privileges. NCP says BNP has already pocketed army in next elections as BNP ally is clear, especially when they pass down orders to their retired military segment of the party that nobody should talk about trial of BDR killing, they should not talk about political killing of last 15 years, and they should never talk about trial of GUM, forced disappearance and anonymous killing. If it continues, we can say the stage is set to see another mockery of election like 2008, 2014, 2018 and 2024 engineered by Election Commission and the administration, while the state intelligence organization will shamefully put their hands to cook the result when the military and the security forces will watch from a distance. The nation awaits another bloodbath, but this time they may not have to wait long 15 years, but sooner. These politicians and the corrupt bureaucracy are all out on war against the sick, poor nation to suck every drop of their blood. Parties seeing BNP's intimacy with army as their power ladder, paving way for some army members to become monsters again like Hasina period. Our army high-ups political meddling is very old. No party proposed reforms in the commission to stop meddling of military in the politics. Military leaders may feel relieved, but junior and the mid-ranking officers have their path open for the future scapegoating. Politicians, even tortured by intelligence, did not put up any proposal to tame the hands of military and the intelligence organizations in the politics. 15 officers who are facing trial are not, many of them are not involved, but law could not overlook their presence in the entire system that abused the human rights. The current arrangement, if it is left in this way, will leave the booby trap open for future crimes by the ambitious military officers again for their personal gain. A mature service chiefs universally focus on being heroes to their forces, not politicians. Had the armed forces handed Hasina to law instead of India, arrested high-value criminals instead of safe exit, instability could be lessened and leadership proven and army respect multiplied. People would feel pride in their army and the armed forces had chances to show professional excellence. Politicians always look for an opportunity to blame failures on army, who provide the easily available shoulder, then gets beaten harshly. Why don't the other two services, that is Bangladesh Navy and Bangladesh Air Force, face storms? Because they do not show too much of appetite for political advantages for their career progress. Army Intelligence Directorate accused specially for Lieutenant General Mujib and Major General Kabir's escape, exposing internal weaknesses, intelligence failure and sovereignty clash. At least 8 intelligence agencies chiefs may have committed crimes against humanity, facing charges. Some fled to India, leaving subordinates to trial. Is this you, my dear military general? Is this your loyalty to juniors? Intelligence eyes should face outwards border, but they hawk eye ruling parties' internal rivals, awaiting orders to eliminate them. Past 16 years, they devoted full power to suppressing opposition. They should have ensured citizens' security, but 16 years' action were well known. Intelligence chiefs should ask themselves, do I have any business in the politics of the country? Please ask yourself that question. Who are you working against? And for whose benefit is it? Is it in the interest of the state or in the interest of power? Political offices of the oppositions are not your working space. If you have put your resources inside political party's office, you are in wrong place. Are you still surveilling the media? If yes, you are repeating mistakes. You are trapping the future colleagues. Remember, you are assigned for national security. Political parties are not your threats. All of us still have time to take a second look. We can avoid the next bloodbath. That is all today. We'll meet you soon with a new subject. If you like this video, please press like, a bell icon if the contents are interest and values to you.